Marhaban. My name is Ian Campbell. This series of 10 videos is the 5th series in a whole set of videos explaining the basics of how to speak, read, and write Al-Fusha or Modern Standard Arabic. These videos will explore the basics of using verbs in Arabic, and this 4th video will examine direct objects. In Arabic, we call a direct object al-maf'ul bihi, literally the done to by it, which is actually pretty accurate for what it is. In English, a direct object of a verb is the noun that receives the action of the verb. So I throw the ball. I'm the subject, throw is the verb, ball is the direct object, what gets thrown. We pet the cat. We is the subject, pet is the verb, the cat is the direct object. She's not an object, she's a person. But we pet her, she's getting petted, and therefore she's the direct object. So direct objects in Arabic work pretty much just exactly like they do in English. They usually follow the verb almost always, and they can be replaced by pronouns. I throw it, I pet her. So that's pretty easy to deal with. There are a couple of tricky things that are going to arise, but mostly they're pretty easy. So direct objects can be nouns, or phrases, or idafas, or demonstratives, this, that, these, and those, or pronouns. So let me give you some examples of that here. So I can say ektub ad-dars. A dars is a lesson. Ektub. So literally this means I write the lesson or am writing the lesson. In English we'd say I'm doing the lesson. This is just how we use this idiomatically in Arabic. Nektub dhalik ad-dars al-jadid. So nektub is we write or we're doing in this context. That, the lesson, the new. So this is a whole phrase here, that new lesson. Yaktub dars al-fizya. So the lesson of the physics is what's being said here, and he's doing it. Good for him. Do your homework. All right, so this is pretty much how exactly it works in English, so it shouldn't really be a problem for you to decode texts in Arabic that use simple direct objects, because it's going to follow the same word order, it's going to work the same way for the very most part. If the direct object needs a helping vowel, like between it and a pronoun, use fatha. So, ektub ad-darsa, if we're going to say it right. Nektub dhalik ad-darsal jadid. Yaktub darsal fizya. So, sometimes these helping vowels will come in handy, and fatha is the one you use for direct objects because it's in what we call the mansub case. And again, I don't really talk about case markings a lot because mostly they're not important, and I'm about to give you an exception of it in a moment here. So I can say ahdur. This is a new verb, and when I annotate the PDF, I will put the 3 forms of the verb hadara, which means to attend something, a class, a party, what have you, just like in English. So ahduru saf ilmin nafs. So ilm is knowledge, and we use it to get Englishology, among many other things. A nafs is the self. So ilmin nafs, the knowledge of the self, is psychology. So ahduru safa ilmin nafs. Ilm is a non-first word in an idafa, so it uses kasra as its helping vowel. Saf is the first word in this 3-word idafa, so because it's the direct object, it uses fatha as its helping vowel. So that gives us I'm attending or I attend psychology class. Here's the same verb, only now it's the yal form, tahduruna, and now safakum. So saf ends with a double consonant, so we need a little helping vowel to get it together with kum, and because it's the direct object, what are y'all attending? You're attending your class. Therefore, we use fatha as our helping vowel. Nahduru, we attend, as-saf al-jadid. So here it is just for completeness purposes. And adjectives that follow nouns are always in the same case and nearly always get the same helping vowel as their nouns. This is something that will be gone into in a much later series of videos purely for completeness purposes. You don't need to understand case to understand basic Arabic. And of course, now I'm going to give you the exception to this rule, which is that the only tricky part of direct objects is that indefinite direct objects, because they're in the mansub case, they take a fatha. Because they're indefinite, they take what we call tanween, the double short vowels that are pronounced un, an, and in. And therefore, most of the time, an extra unpronounced alif. Because of a spelling hangover from Quranic days, when we have tanween al-fath on a noun that doesn't end in ta marbuta or hamza, we put an extra unpronounced alif on the end of it. Why? We don't even really know why we do this. This is just so old and it goes back so forever in Arabic that we just learned to do it. So when you say I'm doing a lesson, you're going to say ektub darsan. And this is going to be pronounced n, not darsa like it looks. And this has this extra alif that's basically a spelling hangover from really old classical Arabic. Nektub darsan sa'ban. So again, adjectives, for the overwhelmingly most part, have to follow their nouns in terms of their case markings. So the adjective needs to have this extra unpronounced alif as well. This is the only hard part about direct objects. So once you can get used to it, it's not that big of a deal. Nahdur, we attend. Sufulfan, classes, not the classes, but just classes. And then sahla, class is masculine singular, like dars is over here. Both of these are masculine singular. But because sufulf is non-human plural, it's feminine singular. So its adjective has to take ta marbuta. And if the noun ends with, or noun or adjective ends with ta marbuta or hamza, it doesn't take the extra unpronounced alif. This is kind of stupidly overcomplicated, but it does come out in the modern language, especially in written texts. So here we have I'm writing a lesson, and in English we'd say I'm doing a lesson. We're doing a difficult lesson. Remember, sob is difficult because difficult things make you sob. And then we're attending easy classes, sufulfan sahla. And if we're going to be super persnickety about how we pronounce this, we'd say nahduru sufulfan sahlatan. And we hear the ta in ta marbuta if we're going to pronounce these vowels at the end of a word, which the last word in a sentence or phrase, we don't pronounce these typically. Don't worry about this. Just realize that direct objects work pretty much exactly like they do in English, except for this tricky bit, and you're home free. So in most texts, like journalism, literature, the tanween, the extra little alif, or fathas rather, won't be written, but the extra alif will. And this provides a cue to you that the word is the direct object. So once you get over seeing a word you know with an alif stuck on the end and not being confused by that and recognizing it not as whatever drsa is, but darsan, then you'll see, oh, hey, this is the direct object here. So this actually becomes kind of useful once you get used to it, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. And remember that words that end with ta marbuta or hamza don't get the alif. So here we have a'rif, I know. And then here's a word you know, talib, student, only now it's disguised because it has this extra alif on the end. And that can be confusing at first for you as a new student because you're going to be like, what's a talba? But no, it's just talib with an extra alif on the end. And this is like a hand waving at you saying, hello, I am the direct object. What do I know? I know a student. What kind of student? Jayyid is good. Adjectives have to match their nouns. So, taliban jayyidan is what you would say here if you were pronouncing it in full form. In most conversations, the overwhelming majority of conversations, people will just say, a'rif talib jayyid, I know a good student. However, I'm here for you, giving you a little bit of detail of grammar so you can help decipher written texts and really impress your other professors with how well you know some of this grammar. Ahdur is I attend. And so this word is not safa, like it looks. It's your pal saf for class with an extra alif tacked on the end. So saffan is how you would say it in full form. And then sahl for easy, well, once you add its tanween al-fath and its extra alif, you have to change the lem at the end of sahel, this lem up here, into the lem aleph character. So sometimes you'll see a word that you know with the lem aleph character at the end, and that can be even a little more confusing. Recognize it as, oh wait, that's a word I know with an aleph stuck on the end, which means it's mostly the direct object. The extra aleph has a couple of other uses as well, but I'll not talk about those now. Nahdur, we attend or are attending. And then here's sofuf for classes, only it's not sofufa, it's sufufan. And the extra aleph is just there for spelling purposes. And because sahla does end with ta marbuta, we don't have to add the extra aleph. So this is the only remotely tricky part about dealing with direct objects, is that if they're indefinite, a lot of times they're going to get this extra aleph tacked on the end. The extra aleph is not pronounced, but the tanween al-fath that usually isn't written will be pronounced. So this is not sa'ba, but sa'ban. And that definitely takes a little getting used to at first. Don't worry about it. Not much else about direct objects is very difficult. Now, you can replace a direct object with a pronoun. And this is very easy. You're just going to use the same pronouns you already use for possession, the exact same set of pronouns, and you're going to attach them to the verb as an object instead of the noun as the person who owns that noun. The only difference is that instead of E, like ismi, Ian, my name is Ian, we're going to say ni instead. Why? No idea. It goes way back in history. So you are the knights that say ni. That's an old Monty Python joke, and I am so dating myself here. All right, so let's introduce a new word, oheb. It looks like ahab in a non-voweled text, but it's oheb. So it comes from the hat, bat, bat root, which is to love something. And for reasons that I won't go into now, it belongs to a different pattern of verb conjugation. We use dhamma on the first syllable, badalan min fatha. So oheb is I love, and then the kaf, like ismuk, your name, becomes the you here. This you are the direct object here. So I love you is what's being said here. So ohebbuk. So yuhebbuha, he loves her. Or if it's non-human plural, like, I don't know, potato chips, he could say yuhebbuha, he loves them in English. Non-human plural is feminine singular. And then we have la nohebbuhu, we don't love him. So the same pronouns you use for possession, only you're going to add them to the verb instead of add them to a noun. You'll get used to this really quickly. It's really easy. I can say, hal tuhibbuni. So this is two words stuck together. Tuhibbu is you, masculine singular, love. And then the ni at the end, not just e, but ni, becomes me. It even rhymes with me, so it's kind of easy to do. And I'm asking a man here. I could be talking about a woman, because remember, the ta at the beginning could be you man, or it could be she girl, and only context would tell. So since we have no context here, this sentence could just as easily read, does she love me, as well as do you masculine love me. However, if I'm asking a woman, I'm going to say, hal tuhibbinani. And there's two noons here, one for the ending, the ina ending, for speaking to a woman, and then one for ni, the pronoun. So we have fatha between them. So hal tuhibbinani is what we're going to say. Most people would say hal tuhibbini, because it's easier. And then yuhibbuna is they love, and then the na for us. Let me go back and put these pronouns in blue here, because pronouns look better in blue. So yuhibbunana, they love us. Most people would say yuhibbuna, like that. So let me colorize these pronouns for you as I go. So these are the same set of pronouns we use for possession, only now we stick them onto a verb instead of a noun to give us the direct object of the verb instead of who owns the noun. So the non-human plural is feminine singular rule applies here as well as it does everywhere else. So we can say أعرف الطلاب. I know the students. Students are human plural. So if I want to say I know them, I'm going to replace them with human plural هم. So here we have I know them. تحب, she loves. It could be you, masculine singular love. We don't have any context here to tell. كلابها. So kilab are dogs, and then we have the helper vowel fatha here, and then her dogs. This could just as easily be you, masculine singular love, her dogs. But we have no context, so we're not going to worry about that. So now she very well may think dogs are people. Many dog owners do, but grammatically they're not. So non-human plural is feminine singular. So it's going to be تحبها. In English, we'd say she loves them. In Arabic, we have to say she loves her. So once you put the rules together, it's not that difficult because these are separate rules. Attach the pronoun to the verb, and non-human plural is feminine singular. So it gets complicated at first because you're doing two different things at once, but you'll get used to it pretty quickly because you can learn the rules as you go and then just put them together. So that's pretty much it for direct objects. They're not that challenging. This extra alif thing is the only tricky part, and also saying ni instead of e for me instead of my. Other than that, they work pretty much like English, so that's all I've got, and I'm going